On our phone line right now, we have Roger Maris Jr. Roger, how you doing today?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Not bad, Roger. Are you paying attention to the home run race?
Well, it's hard not to pay attention to it when pretty much everywhere you look, whether it's TV and it's on the radio, you hear it on the radio, you see it in the print, so it's pretty much in front of you on a day-to-day basis, so you can't really help but pay attention to it.
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, are you rooting for either one, or are you just a neutral bystander?
Well, I'm definitely not rooting for them to break the record. You know, I'm rooting for them to keep doing what they're doing. I think it's great for baseball, and it's definitely fun and interesting to pay attention to. But as far as the record itself, no, I'm not pulling for either one of them to break it.
Yeah, that's that record there to me is like the heavyweight champion of the world, the home run king, and your father had 61 home runs in 1961. I mean, that's like the ultimate record in baseball. Do you feel the same way?
Well, I mean, many people have said, you know, that that's one of the greatest records in sports, you know, arguably. But, you know, I think from my perspective, it is not, you know, just because my dad hit the 61, but, you know, the is one of the big things in baseball. I mean, and if you don't think it is, just look what's happened to baseball this year. You know, I don't think you've seen crowds like this for a 20-game winner, a 30-game winner, or a 390 batting average. But the home runs has really brought it out, and I think people are just in awe with the home runs. So in that respect, I think the home runs is special, and I think my perspective anyway, it's probably the most cherished record in the sport of baseball.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. We're talking with Roger Maris Jr. Roger, how old were you in 1961?
I was just 3 at the time.
So you really didn't get the whole and experience the whole thing, did you?
No, I mean, you know, and it's really interesting too, because I mean, when I was, you know, when 3, you obviously don't see that, but as time has gone on, and even over the years, I've looked at and paid attention to the home runs, you know, every year, obviously, since Dad had the record. And you know, you have guys. I remember one year Reggie Jackson had 37 at the All-Star game, and you know, you look at that and you're going, man, he's really on his way to doing it. And they ended up, I think, like 44 or something. He didn't finish up very strong, but you know, these guys are hitting the home runs, and as they start hitting the home runs like that, you know, you're paying attention to that. But this past year, like last year, with McGuire getting 58, you know, kind of like it got really close, and I was like, wow, you know. And then this year, just him getting off running the way he did and having 45 like he did a couple weeks back with so much time left, I was like, wow, this record has a real good shot at going down, you know. And even when they started out early this year, I really didn't think it would happen because they all predicted it would happen. Usually when you make predictions like that, people just don't live up to them, you know, especially before season, like in spring training. But this year, I think I really got a good taste and flavor for, you know, what it was probably like for Dad in that 61 season, just with the attention it's getting and just how awesome it actually really is. Yeah,
the reason, and we're talking with Roger Maris Jr. Roger, the reason some of the predictions came out was because it was an expansion year, and you know, people the pitching, and you know, the pitching is just not there, and they were feeling that somebody like McGuire might be able to hit 65 home runs this year.
Well, I mean, you know, in the expansion year, obviously you have more teams, and the pitching does get weaker. But you know, I don't care who you are, you know, to predict someone to hit 61 or 2 home runs is just, you know, you can do all the predicting you want, but I think that in itself is what's impressed me so much about, you know, McGuire and Griffey. And the get-go, obviously, Griffey's kind of fallen off, but McGuire, you know, he heard it from the end of the season, all through summer, into spring training, all through the beginning of the year, you know, this is the year, this is the year, this year, and for him to actually live up to that billing, I think that's just phenomenal in itself.
Sure. We're talking about Roger Maris Jr. Roger, some of the stuff that Mark McGuire reportedly is taking, will if he does go on to break the record, are you paying attention to that? Will that taint it all for you?
Will it taint it for me?
Yeah, the record itself, because of the supposedly the substance that he is now a reporter found in his locker room and in his locker, and that supposedly McGuire is taking.
Yeah, I don't think it would taint it at all. I mean, you know, if Mark hits 62, I think your hat has to go off the guy. I mean, that's something that's never been done before, and I would personally hate to see it tainted just for whatever they're saying that he's done. I don't think what he's done is anything wrong with it, for the simple fact that it's not banned as an illegal substance or any problem. You know, there's never been a problem with that drug in baseball, or you know, anyone making an issue out of it. And he's been doing it supposedly however long, and no one's made an issue out of it until he's getting close to breaking the record. Mm-hmm. And you know, I would hate to see that happen to him. You know, I know when Dad broke the record, you know, he had his criticisms too, and he got the asterisk and everything else. And if Mark hits 62, then, you know, I think he deserves everything he gets to go along with the record, and, you know, wish him the best of luck.
How much did that 1961 season take out of your father? We heard stories that even his hair was falling out. Was all that true?
Well, you know, I don't remember that, but, you know, yeah, that's true. My mom has said that. He said that. And, yeah, he was actually losing clumps of hair at the time.
Wow. That's unbelievable. I mean, the love for Mickey Mantle up there, and a lot of people actually at times booed your father when he hit a home run because they wanted Mantle to break the record. Does that put a little sour taste in your mouth for New York people?
Well, you know, New York fans are the greatest fans in the game. I mean, as far as just their knowledge of the game and everything else. And Dad always said, you know, when you play in New York, they're the best fans you could actually want to play for as long as things are going well. If they turn sour, that's not something you want to have to deal with because they can be harsh. But he was always in awe with how knowledgeable they were. But no, I don't have a sour taste for those people at all. You know, I mean, you got to remember back then, you know, Babe Ruth was the icon in baseball. People wanted, you know, Babe to keep that hallowed record. And then Mickey came along, and people were in love with Mickey. He was supposed to be the next, you know, great Yankee icon and everything else. And then Dad came along, and he was a newcomer to the team, and they're like, they really didn't have enough association with him at the time, and everybody was, you know, in Mickey's corner. And then when they started going at it together, you know, and even talking to Dad's teammates at the time, really the teammates were wanting to see Mickey more than Roger because they had been with Mickey longer and got to know Mickey longer, and they were kind of pulling for him. So, I mean, not only did he have, you know, most of the fans, the media, and his own teammate. I mean, when he went to different parks, he was booed. When he went to his own park, he was booed. And you look at today, what the home run barrage has done. I mean, look at that home run hitting contest in the All-Star game. That was just phenomenal. The interest and excitement that came along with that. McGuire goes around. He's just getting a great ovation in every park he goes into. I was watching in Pittsburgh the other night. He hits a home run, comes out, takes a curtain call in an opposing park. I was watching the Dodger game the other night, and he's not even playing in L.A. He's playing somewhere else. And they flash up on the scoreboard. He hits his 54th, you know, and he gets a big ovation. So, you know, these guys are chasing the record, and people are pulling for him. The fans are pulling for him. The media's pulling for him. He's got a lot going for him, and you know, that's something that I wish Dad could have felt going for the record, that people pulled for him and wanted him to do something. He had to go up against a lot of odds to do what he did, and that's why just seeing today and knowing what he had to go through is just really phenomenal what he did.
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Roger Maris Jr. Roger, how close of friends were your father and Mickey Mantle? Was that ever shared with you?
Yeah, I mean, they were very good friends, and actually they roomed together during the '61 season, as a matter of fact, you know, and it was always kind of a standard joke, you know, because writers would say how they're feuding and they don't like each other, and, you know, they're living together, you know, they're just kind of laughing it off. But, you know, he was a pallbearer at my father's funeral and everything else, and he stays in touch with our family, you know, even up to his death.
Your father died very young, at about 50 years old, wasn't
51, he? 51, yeah, he had lymphoma cancer.
51 years old. If your father, this might be a silly question, a little tough of a question, but if your father was still alive today, what you know of your father, I don't want you to speak for your father, but just, you know, what you know of your father and the things that your father shared with you, do you think he'd be rooting for these guys to break the record, or do you think down deep inside he'd be saying, no, don't hit another one?
I don't think he'd be rooting for him by any means, you know, and it's just like, you know, you take McGuire, any of the other guys, they're not going to be standing there going, well, I don't want to break Roger Maris's record because that wouldn't be nice for Roger. You know, I mean, they're competitors. My dad was a competitor. I mean, when you compete and you play sports and you accomplish something, you're not pulling for people to beat your accomplishments. You know, when you're an athlete, you want to say, hey, here's my mark, beat it. And I think if someone was to beat his mark, he'd be standing there shaking his hand and saying, hey, fantastic. I didn't know if it would be done, but, you know, congratulations and wish you the best of luck. And that's the kind of guy he was. He wouldn't have wished anything. You know, some people, you know, have asked me, well, do you wish you'd get hurt? No, I mean, I want these guys to stay healthy and give it the best shot they can. And I think it's fantastic what they're doing. And if they're the best man, then they'll be the best man. If not, then the record will stay with my dad.
Well put. We're talking with Roger Maris Jr. Roger, do you have any idea what that 60-second home run ball will be worth if McGuire does do it?
I don't know, but I'd like to be the guy out there catching it. I've heard it's going to be up to like $1 million or something.
I mean, that is unbelievable in itself, that the bat, the jersey, the ball, only God knows what those three items will be worth as far as memorabilia. Do you have any memorabilia? I mean, do people call you and ask if you have any of the balls from your father's 1961 season?
Well, it's funny with, you know, McGuire's 61 or 62 home run ball, you know, he could possibly get up to $1 million. When we were kids, I mean, you know, we actually were playing with that ball that's in the Hall of Fame when the Hall of Fame called and asked, could we put the ball in the Hall of Fame, and we had just taken that ball out like that week and started messing around with it, you know.
As you mean as kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And it just goes to show you, I mean, obviously that ball, you know, wasn't worth, you know, no one thought of it like, you know, memorabilia and all that wasn't a big deal in those days, you know. And but yeah, as far as our memorabilia, we've got it all sitting up in North Dakota, in Fargo, North Dakota. There's a museum up there. My dad has up there, and all his memorabilia and stuff is up there.
Oh, good. We're talking with Roger Maris Jr. Roger, do you like did you ever play baseball? Did you play any in the minor leagues or anything like that?
No, I played and I quit when I was 15.
Yeah. Was it tough being Roger Maris Jr.?
Well, it was tough in respect. You know, you're always going to have kids, and people are always going to be challenging for different things. But, you know, I mean, people are always going to be saying, oh, you're not your father. You know, just the typical stuff that everyone would go through if their namesake was the same as mine or whatever. And you're going to hear the people, you know, ragging on you. And, you know, Maris, you're not as good as your father. You never will be, you know. So you're definitely going to hear that when, you know, you're playing opposing teams, because that's what opposing fans like to do, is rag on, you know, the opposing players. So, yeah, I mean, I got that when I was growing up. There's no doubt about that. Roger,
do you realize the people that will be calling you when McGuire approaches 59 and 60? You'll probably be on every show from Jay Leno to just an ordinary sports talk show.
Yeah, I don't know if it can get much worse than it already is.
Has it been bad? I'm a lot of people calling for interviews and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, radio shows, TV. I mean, yeah, everywhere. I mean, we've been getting inundated with that stuff. Yeah.
Well, hey, good luck to you, and it sounds like you're having fun following this, and you got a vested interest, and I understand it, and hey, good luck to you, Roger.
Okay, Mike. Well, thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you. Roger Maris Jr.